Hello and welcome to a special presentation for Exceed Street Fighter in conjunction with Jasco Games and Level 99 Games. I'm your host, Marco DeSantos, also known as the Mechanic Critic, and with me is a very other special guest and my co-host.
Hi, my name's Alice, also known as Bubba Lubba. I do various geeky things on the internet, but mostly I'm known for doing the tabletop simulator stuff for pretty much everything Level 99 puts out.
So this thing that we're seeing right now, this is your work?
Yeah, this thing which you're seeing right now, as well as BattleCon, Imperial Spells and Steam, Pixel Tactics, and just about anything that Level 99 could ever want to put on tabletop sim.
Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And we're gonna be here to give you a show match and a sort of tutorial game to teach you how to play Exceed, while also showcasing two of the characters from our latest season featuring characters from Capcom's Street Fighter. In this video, we're gonna be playing Ryu against Ken, because what Street Fighter game doesn't have Ryu fight against Ken as a tutorial, right?
Hell, even some non-Street Fighter games have Ryu vs Ken.
So why not this board game? Why not this board game, right? Okay, so in case you've just clicked on this because you've seen Street Fighter and have never played Exceed before, Exceed is a card game slash board game meant to emulate fighting games. It's a fighting card game in common parlance, and in it we'll basically be using cards in order to fight a la fighting game style, and it's meant to adapt and or capture the experience of playing an actual fighting game without all of the problems of executing quarter circle forwards or shoryuken motions and all of that stuff. So it's gonna be very fun. So for setup, we need to first determine who's first player. Alice, do you want to flip? Heads or tails?
Call it.
I'm calling heads.
And it's tails.
It's tails.
So
unfortunately.
I'll go first. So I draw 5
You go
cards.
first. So the first player draws how many cards?
I draw 5 cards and you draw 6.
So I draw 6 cards, Tabletop Simulator Magic, go! Now we see our hands. So quick explanation, most of the game is played using cards, and you will see that there are multiple cards here. So we have two kinds of cards, essentially. We have cards that have not my character's art on them. For example, this thing that you're seeing right here. And this thing. Also this thing. You'll be able to tell based on the upper right symbol whether or not it's part of your character's unique set of cards or part of what we would like to call normals. Normals are a type of card in Exceed that are meant to emulate kind of like things that everyone can do. You know, when you play a fighting game, how everyone can punch, everyone can sweep, everyone can kick, and all that stuff. So those are the default actions that most characters are able to do. On the other hand, you have cards with your character's art on them, like these ones over here, and they are what you call specials, you know, kind of like in actual fighting games. These are unique moves that only your character generally is able to do, unless of course you're Ryu, then everyone can do shoryukens and tatsus and fireballs, because, you know, that's just how they work. So every turn in Exceed actually involves you doing one of a select series of actions, and not every turn is fighting, so to speak. So there's a lot of spacing involved. Alice, can you help us list down the list of actions that we need to take? I'll zoom in on the card here.
Yep, so you've got Prepare, which lets you draw, so you always take an action followed by drawing a card. So you can Prepare, which lets you draw a second card for a total of 2 for the turn. You can Move by paying Force, which Force we'll get to in a bit. You can Boost by paying Force, which lets you use the bottom portion of a card. The top sort of 3/4 is for the actual attack portion, and the bottom is for the boost portion. So in effect, each card is 2 things in one, so it gives you a bit of versatility in how you use them. You can change cards by spending Force to draw more cards, usually used as a bit of a mulligan mechanic during a match.
So let's be very clear. Force is basically cards, right? When it says pay Force, it means discard cards.
Yeah, you discard 1 card per Force you want to generate, unless it's an Ultra, which are the ones with a special border and a cost in the top left, which are...
We'll see more of those later on.
Yeah, they can generate 2 Force instead of 1 Force. You can, once per game, reshuffle put your discard back into your deck and shuffle it up. You can only do this once per game, and if you run out of cards and need to draw, if you haven't already reshuffled, it will use it for you automatically. However, it's also free. However, it's also an action in case you want to reshuffle early. This can be particularly useful if you don't want your opponent to figure out what you've got in your hand, because if you have 5 cards in hand and no cards in your deck, then your opponent can know exactly what's in your hand just by going, okay, what don't you have in your discard?
Exactly. Also, it's very important to note that at any point in the game, if you would need to draw from your deck and your deck is empty and you've run out of reshuffle actions, you lose.
Game over.
Yeah, you get it once, but never again. I'll finish it up. You can exceed. So exceed is the namesake mechanic of the game. Each character has a unique ability on the front side of their card. So as Ryu, for example, I can move 1. So that's just an immensely better version of the move action because I don't have to pay to move 1. Right? I don't have to pay the force to move 1. Ryu can just move 1 for free. On the other hand, Ken can close 1 and draw a card. Close is very different from move. It's basically advance. Ken moves towards me. So Ryu can space really easily because he can move forward or back. Ken is very aggressive, as Ken usually is, by stepping forward all the time. So that's your character's unique ability. That's what we usually call them. However, in the lower right corner of the character card, you'll see a cost for gauge. That's called the gauge cost to transform. So if I have 2 gauge, which is this, we'll talk about gauge later on when it's relevant. When you have 2 gauge, you can flip your character like this and now gain access to their exceeded side. And on the exceed side, it often powers up your character, giving them an upgraded version of their ability. So now, when I use Ryu, I can move 1 and draw a card. So now I kind of become like Ken, right? I can still draw even after doing my move. On the other hand, Ken can flip, and now he can now close up to 2, right? So, he closes up to 2 when he does it, and then as an action, he can close 1, draw a card, then attack. So what's a strike? That's called a strike on the bottom there. Well, striking is basically attacking in this game, right? So you take a card from your hand, you place it face down, and you and your opponent reveal it and then resolve that when it matters. We will talk about the resolution of strikes later on when they become relevant. Overall, what you just need to know is that Exceed has a lot of actions in a game, and you're able to take them during your turn and then draw a card. That's it. It's that simple. It might seem really complicated, and we talked a lot about these things like move, boost, prepare, blah, blah, blah. But in reality, it's just do a thing, then draw a card, then it's your opponent's turn. In fact, it's so easy that Alice will do it in literally under 5 seconds. Alice, go.
I'm going to close 1 and draw for the end of my turn, and yours.
See, so that was Ken's unique ability in action, right? You used Ken's ability to close 1, moving towards me. You drew a card, and then you drew another card because every time you choose to do an action, you draw a card at the end of the turn, right?
Yep. In time you don't draw a card is if you strike as part of your turn. Striking causes you to skip your draw phase.
Yeah, or if you have specific effects that say that you don't draw a card, right? So as Ryu, I don't want to corner myself, so I will prepare and just draw 2 cards. There you go. It is now your turn.
Okay, I am going to initiate a strike, and I'm going to strike with this. And so
so Alice has initiated a strike.
Yep.
So it's now I need to respond. Yes.
Yep. Marco now needs to choose what to attack back with.
Yes, I will now attack back with this. At this moment in time, we might be able to make use of Street Fighter's unique mechanic from all the other seasons, and that's called critical. But that's not relevant right now, so let's just talk about that when that's important. But just remember that at this moment in time, we could do something called a critical. Now that both players have chosen to not critical, or both players can't critical, we will now reveal our cards. So flip them face up at the same time.
Okay.
So now we've revealed. Let's go over the anatomy of an attack, right? An attack has a name, a range, a power, a speed, and a guard or armor value. Not every card has guard and armor values, but every card should have range, power, and speed. So, for example, sweep has a range of 1 to 3. This means that Ryu, who is performing the sweep, can hit these following spaces. See, that's range 1, 2, and 3. Next up is power. When you hit someone, power is how much damage you deal. And speed is arguably the more important stat right now, because now that we revealed, we need to decide who goes first. So who goes first in this situation, Alice?
So I've got I've got speed 5 versus your speed 2, so I'll be going first with my attack. And that is the reason why sweep has guard and assault doesn't, because assault is one of the faster moves, and general rule of thumb is the faster a move is, the more it's relying on going first, and the less it's going to rely on using guards to soak a hit. So
yeah, guard is kind of like armor in a fighting game, right? Like when you hit me, I don't get stunned out of an attack. So let's just resolve this beat. You go first.
Yep.
So what does your effect do?
So I've got a before effect, which happens before. So I close 2 spaces, so I move into range 1, which puts me in range to hit with my assault attack. So
because your attack has range 1, and we are now in range 1 from each other.
Yep. So I hit you for 4 damage, and there's no...
Because of your 4 power?
Yep, and there's nothing to reduce it.
Okay.
Then on
hit, you also gain advantage.
Yep, so I'll be taking another turn after this.
Yes.
And that's my attack done.
Is really good. Advantage is really good, because it essentially means that you get to be aggressive and keep attacking, right?
Yep.
Okay, so it's my turn. So usually when you take damage, you get stunned, right? That's how fighting games work. You know, if somebody beats out your attack, your own attack is interrupted. However, if your attack has armor, it still goes through. If you take damage that is equal to or less than your guard value, well, you don't get stunned, and you still get to activate. So I will now activate. I have no before effects, so now I will check my range. Is Ken within range 1 to 3 from Ryu?
Very much.
Most definitely so. Alright, now I get to hit you. So on hit, the opponent must discard a card at random.
Yep, so I'm going to pull the cards out of my hand. Give them a shuffle, and I lose my axe kick. Ooh, that's painful, because I kind of wanted to use that.
That's a really powerful looking card, okay? And then I deal 6 damage to you, so now you only have 24 health left. So now that we've both hit with our attacks, when you hit with your attack, at the end of everything, your attack goes into your gauge. So in Street Fighter, this is kind of like meter, right? You can use this for a variety of things, like criticals or performing your ultras, which require meter to use. And essentially, these are very powerful things to make use of during strikes, because it allows you to make use of the critical mechanic. Certain cards have a critical trigger on them. For example, this card that I'm showing right now. And these cards are very cool. So for example, Axe Kick has a critical +2 speed. So this means that by default, Axe Kick only has 4 speed. But if you're willing to spend 1 gauge, you're able to buff up Axe Kick and have it become 4 speed instead, making it considerably more dangerous than the default 4 speed. You make it 6 speed. So that's really powerful, because some of the fastest cards in the game are 6 and 7 speed. So that's really, really fast. So that ends the strike, and that ends Alice's turn. Usually you would draw a card, but since Alice initiated a strike, you do not draw a card. But since you have advantage, it is still your turn. So please, go on ahead.
Yep, okay, so I'm going to choose to boost, and I'm going to boost with Knee Bash's custom combo. So first of all, because it has this little plus, that means it's a continuous boost. So this is going to remain in play until a strike happens. It costs 0 force in order to play it, so I don't need to discard any cards from my hand. It has a now effect, which is going to let me draw 2 cards from my deck. And then, as long as this is in play, if I hit you, then I'm going to gain advantage again.
That's... oh gosh, you're so aggressive. I'm so scared.
And then I draw 1 final card for the end of my turn.
So, like, Ken just doesn't run out of cards, right? Ken is super aggressive. Uh-huh. Sure, it's my turn now. I'm Ryu. Yes.
Yep.
So here's the problem, in my opinion. Like, I could take an action and move back one, but then Ken would just close in on me again, and that's not good for me. That's definitely not good for me. So I believe that it is now time for me to initiate a strike.
Let's see. I think I will strike back with this one.
Okay, I thought you were gonna choose to not strike. Like, I thought you were implying that you could choose to not strike back. You can't. You have to answer my attack. Okay, so are we gonna critical?
I am not.
I am not as well. We are revealing cards now. A focus. Oh, that's so good.
Perfect.
Oh, that's so good. Okay, so this is such a good trade for you. So we look at the speed of the cards. We have 1 speed and I have 4 speed. So I am faster as Ryu. So I go first. Do I have before effects? No. Are you within range? Most definitely you are at range 1 and I have range 1 to 2. So now I hit you. On hit, I push you 2 spaces.
However, focus has the ability, opponents can't move me, so I'm staying right there.
Oh my gosh. Oh, it's like a focus attack. You kind of like armor through my attack. Alright then, at least I get to deal 6 damage.
Nope, because focus has 2 armor, which reduces the damage of your attack by that amount, so I'm only taking 4 damage.
Oh, okay. Well, at least I have advantage, right? So I have advantage next turn and I get to take the next turn. So,
yeah.
You know, that didn't end up so bad.
Except that I hit you back now because you are in range of my focus. I have 5 guard and only took 4 damage, so I'm not stunned out. So I hit you back for 4 damage, and then because of my custom combo, I also gain advantage. And because I gained...
so what happens if we both have advantage, Alice?
Whoever gained advantage last keeps it. So you gained advantage...
So that means I don't get the next turn, is what you're telling me.
Correct.
So this is where the counterplay of Exceed comes in, right? Like, so in case it's not very clear, Alice kind of has a general idea of what cards are available in my hand thanks to this handy reference card over here. And she can access it and check what moves I can do. And she saw that I had the donkey kick, and she could have possibly played this focus as a counter to my donkey kick. Yes?
Yes, I totally guessed that.
Yeah, she totally read that. It was totally intended. I also have a card for Ken, so I know what Ken does and I know Ken's cards. So Exceed is not just a game about luck, right? It's not just like you draw a bunch of cards and then like, woohoo, I reveal a card, I win. It's not like War, right? By knowing what your opponent's possible attack ranges are, and by knowing what ranges you are at and what specific attacks are available at specific ranges, you can actually suss out or end up figuring out what moves your opponent might want to play. And notice how I was talking about how I wanted to create distance, but moving was not a viable option against Ken. So maybe Alice used that as a hint in order to just use focus, because maybe I was going to do a donkey kick or perhaps a 1-inch punch or some other move like that, right?
Grasp is the main reason I played focus, because when you're at range 1, that's generally the range when one of the normals grasp is going to come out, which is only a range of 1, but it's speed 7. It doesn't deal a whole lot of damage, but its power is in that it can either push or pull the opponent 2 spaces. So generally at range 1 you want to be really careful of getting hit by a grasp, and so focus is always your best bet because it reduces almost all of the damage from grasp and stops you moving.
And you still get to draw a card. Did you draw a card for the after already?
Done that now.
Wonderful. All right. So ultimately, we still both hit, so we still both get the gauge, though. So that's great. However, it is no longer my turn because someone took advantage from me.
I know, it's great.
The aggression is too much for me. Can you, like, back up? Can you, like, please spend your entire turn just backing up to range 7 or range 5? Please? For me?
So I'm going to strike.
Oh, jeez. Man, I totally didn't expect that.
And I'm going to use the second option you have when you strike, which is to do an EX attack. If you have 2 copies of the same card, then you can set both copies down as your attack. That's called an EX. And what an EX does is, when I reveal this, the second copy will be discarded, and the copy that I'm left with will gain a +1 to its power, its speed, its armor, and its guard. And because of that, cards that don't usually have any armor or guard can gain it.
Yes. And usually, in a game like this, 1 point of speed matters a lot, right? Because it's the difference between going first or second.
Yeah. For example,
or 1 point of power matters a lot as well, because it's the difference between stunning the opponent or not, right?
Oh yeah, for example, if both of us swept, but mine was an EX sweep, then that would be 7 damage against the 6 guard of sweep. So whereas sweep against sweep would normally just cancel out and you'd both take 6 damage, an EX sweep against a sweep will stun.
And that's a huge life swing of 7 in a game where your maximum life points are 30. So I will... You know what? Usually I would play one of these cards in my hand, but since this is a tutorial game and we want to teach the players all of the new mechanics, I will perform the other option when you have a strike, and it's called a wild swing. This is for people who love button mashing in fighting games. You take the top card of your deck and that's your attack. Welcome to the Madness Parade. So this might not seem like a good option, right? Why would you play the top card of your deck if you could just play a card from your hand? Well, this means that I don't have to play a card from my hand, and I get to keep hand advantage. So whereas Alice has spent 2 cards in order to perform this attack, I have spent 0 cards to perform this attack, right? And if it just so happens to be an attack that's really good in this situation, that's great. Also remember that you have a complete idea of what's in your deck, because the decks are not custom or whatever. They're specific to a character. So you always know what's inside your deck. So I have a general idea of what this could be, and I'm pretty sure there are a few attacks that I could do that would hopefully get me out of this terrible situation. So Alice, let us reveal our cards.
Okay, so that is not one of the cards that would help you, unfortunately.
Definitely not one of the cards that would help me.
So I did Tatsumaki Senpaku.
Just call it Tatsu. Just call it the Tatsu, because it's really hard to pronounce otherwise.
I think it's like Whirlwind Spinning Kick, I believe is the translation.
Or something like that. So usually we would have a speed tie here, which usually gets resolved by whoever initiated the strike. But since you EX'd this move by playing 2 copies of it, it actually has 4 speed, so you go first.
Yep. So before I advance 2, so I go 1 and 2. And then my attack is range 1 to 2, so you are within range. It is normally...
I get hit for 6?
Yep, 6.
Gosh.
Usually 5, but pumped up by +1. Hit if I move past the opponent this strike. I ignore guard, which should be very good if you'd done something like focus or sweep, which I was kind of hoping you'd throw out. I was hoping you'd throw out a defensive option that relied on guard so that my Tatsumaki Senpaku would just rip through it.
But I'm not a fool.
You just went with the Tarankin option and YOLO'd.
I YOLO'd, yeah. But that's fine, that's fine.
So because ignore guard, yeah, that just stuns you out and your attack doesn't get to go off.
So that gets discarded instead of going into my gauge. And that's good. So ignore guard is really cool. And this is what's cool about Exceed, is that how we're able to translate those fighting game mechanics into card game mechanics. So if you move past the opponent this strike, ignore guard, that's kind of capturing like the Oki from Ken's thing where he does the Tatsu and crosses you up, right? And you block in the wrong direction and end up getting hit by the Tatsu anyway. So that's really, really cool, and how that was translated into this card. However, what's not cool is the fact that I have 16 health.
Already down to half.
Yep, so I will perform a strike. I need to get away from you. And so I'm gonna perform a strike, because I don't think I can get away by paying to move. Because it's so hard, right? Like, I really want to get away, but it says, as an action, you may move 1. And I'm like, but Ken just comes in. So I have to rely on my more defensive cards during strikes in order to create that distance.
That's the...
So Ken, Are you
That's
EXing?
That's the one downside to Ryu's
Ability?
UA, unique ability, is that he can only move one, whereas with the move action, you can pay multiple force to move multiple spaces, but that would empty out Marco's hand real quickly.
And that's not good in a game where cards are your literal options, right?
Yeah, so I'm not going to crit.
Okay. Alright, so we will now reveal our cards.
Cross.
It's a block.
Yep, exactly what I thought you'd use. So
That's completely fine with me. So I go first. I hit you with my cross. So now you've played a block. So when you block, when you're hit, spend any amount of force to gain +2 armor per force, and it already has 2 armor by default. So all Alice has to do is discard 1 card or spend 1 gauge to block all the damage. Though I'm not sure she might want to do that.
I'm gonna take the 1 damage.
Definitely the correct idea. So you are not stunned because you have stun guard 3. Afterwards, I get to retreat 3 spaces. Whew, finally some breathing room here. I get to add this to my gauge. So block doesn't hit, right? It has a range of not applicable and a power of not applicable. So these stats mean that even if Alice wasn't stunned, Alice doesn't get to attack because you don't attack with a block. That makes no sense, right? So this one doesn't hit or deal damage. However, afterwards, even if it doesn't hit, you can still add this to your gauge because it explicitly says add this card to your gauge at the end of the strike. So there you go, it has been added, and I have, my cards stacked on top of each other. That shouldn't have happened. There you go. It is now your turn, and finally I have some breathing room. Goodness me.
I'm going to pay 3 gauge, and I'm going to exceed, and I get to close up to 2 spaces and draw 1 card, and then draw 1 for the end of my turn. So now there goes your breathing room.
There goes my breathing room. Goodness. All right. So, Okay. So I'm gonna do something and play a boost. Focus has a boost called Reading, and it says name a normal attack, then strike. The opponent must strike with that card or reveal a hand without any. So this basically means I get to name a card, and if my opponent has that in the hand, they have to play it during the strike.
It's a really...
So I will play this. And
really
here's the thing,
card.
right? It's a pretty brutal card, and it's literally called Reading, right? So if I can read your hand, I can instantly win this entire beat. And given that you've drawn so many cards, how many cards have you drawn this game? Gosh, like 15?
I've gone through 13 cards of my 30-card deck.
Jeez. Okay, so I have a pretty good idea of what cards are available, and I have a pretty good idea of what cards can win at range 3. So I'm naming Grasp.
Okay, so now I'd either have to reveal a hand without Grasp, or unfortunately play Grasp as my attack.
So now your Grasp will eat my sweep. So you play. So before you take the damage, let's take this one slowly, Alice. Slowly. Put it back there. So at range 1, this is M Bison art is so cool. So who's faster? It is most definitely you.
Yeah.
You then take. You then try to attack. You whiff, unfortunately. And now it's my...
You are not at range 1.
Yep, not at range 1. However, I don't get hit. I am not stunned. I get to activate. I now can... Range 1 to 3. Oh my goodness. I can hit Ken. So Ken takes 6 damage and must discard a card.
And I lose one of my ultras. Gurin Senpakuken.
Ooh. Oh, that's unfortunate. So these are the ultras. In the upper left corner, you'll see that there's a gauge cost to use them as well. So there goes. This goes here. And then this goes into my gauge. And usually I would draw a card for playing a boost. But since I struck using the boost, I still don't get to draw a card.
Yep. Very painful.
Yep. It's now Ken's turn.
Okay, I'm going to use my action to close 1, draw 1 card, and then I may strike.
Will you strike?
I think I strike with this.
I might just strike with this.
Okay.
Ooh, beautiful.
The crossbow is blocked, so that's going to be 1 damage unless you want to reduce it to 0.
Definitely not. So I'm just going down to 15.
And then I shoot away. And we both gain
I get
gauge.
here. Okay, so here's another cool system in Exceed. Marco has barely any cards in his hand, and I want to draw a decent amount of cards. I could choose to draw 2 cards by just taking the prepare action, but I can use change cards to spend any amount of force to draw that many cards. But Marco, isn't that just gonna mulligan your hand? Remember, you can spend gauge as force. So I will spend 1, 2, 3 gauge in order to draw 3 cards. And at the end of my turn, I get to draw 1 card. Your turn. So now I've replenished my entire hand really fast.
Okay, now I need to decide what I want to do. I think I'll go with my UA again, so I'll close in 1 space and draw a card.
Are you gonna strike?
Yes, I think I'll try striking with this.
This is quite unfortunate for me. I'm just gonna do this. Alright.
Okay,
Reveal.
Okay. Die.
Oh, you dove.
So, before I get to advance 3 spaces, and then if I'd crossed over to the other side, I would be unable to be hit back, but it doesn't really matter considering it's a block. And then I'm hitting you for 5 damage. So 3 damage at the moment with your base block, and do you want to add any extra?
I'll probably discard a card. Yeah, so I'll discard my dive in order to block an extra 2. So I only take 1 damage. And since this is block, it still goes into my gauge.
And
Beautiful.
then it's yours.
Alright, so here's a clear difference between our fighting styles, right? Ken is just advancing and attacking so much, and I'm just playing really defensively, and that's really how Ryu plays. He's a counter striker, right? He has ultras. I believe one of his ultras... Yeah, there. One of his ultras is actually stronger if he didn't initiate the strike. So it's like kind of like the Shoryu, right? So I will just prepare and draw 2 cards in preparation for the onslaught that you're about to give me.
I'm going to... I think... I'll boost with Key Charge and add this card to my gauge. Then draw 1 for my
That's
turn.
frightening. That scares me so much. What? Okay, I will move back 1 because I don't want to be in melee against Ken. And I'll draw 1 card because, again, anytime you do an action, you can draw a card afterwards. Your turn.
Okay, I'm going to close in 1, draw 1 card, and I will initiate a strike. And I will strike with an EX.
Oh, gosh. I don't know what this could be.
Painful.
It could be very painful. There's a lot of attacks that Ken has that just eats me alive, isn't there? Are you gonna crit this?
No, I'm not gonna crit this.
Wait, I can't ask that.
Yeah,
Sorry.
come on.
I can't ask that. Okay, now, are you gonna crit this?
No. Are you gonna crit yours?
I'm not critting as well. Oh my gosh, if this is your ultra, it's gonna hurt.
It is my ultra.
It is. Oh, Shinryuken! Oh my gosh. So you have to spend 4 gauge upon revealing your Shinryuken.
Yep.
So it's an EX Shinryuken. So not only is it your ultra, you've EX'd your ultra.
Yep, so it's 8 power with the EX boost, and then it gets +4 power if I initiated the strike, so it's a 12 power attack. So this is going to smash Marco for 10 damage, a third of his life total in one hit.
Because I used focus, yeah, because I have focus, I was able to soak 2 of that. So I take 10 and drop down to 4.
And I think that might be enough damage to get past your guard.
Let's see. Is 10 greater than 5?
I think it is.
Alright, so I will discard that. I have... Oh my gosh, you have thoroughly defeated me on that beat.
I was like, wait, make sure that Marco doesn't have enough gauge for Metsu Shoryuken, which just flat out beats my Shinryuken. But
yeah.
You only had 3 gauge, not 4. So that's why.
Well, you EX'd it, so you would have won anyway.
No, because
oh, it's +3. I thought it was +2 speed. Never mind.
My
mistake.
Metsu Shoryuken 8 speed on defense. Because it's basically designed to, oh, the opponent's trying to grasp me. Here's 1 speed higher than grasp.
Okay, so for my action, I will key charge and give myself that gauge, and then I will draw. That's it.
Okay, note to self, get out of range 1, so that Marco can't Metsu Shoryuken.
Get back into range 1! Come on, you love it. You love being at range 1, don't you, Ken? Don't you, Ken?
I think I'm going to spend my turn preparing because I need cards.
You need cards?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so I will play a boost with my Metsu Shoryuken.
There it is.
Lightning reflexes. And it allows me to spend 1 force. So I will pay for that force using this card called Spike. And it allows me to move 2, then strike. So I will move 2, and then perform a strike.
Okay, I will...
Wild swing me, Ken. Wild swing. Button mash, please.
I will hit you back with an EX.
Ooh, dangerous. Alright, let's reveal our cards.
Oh, it's
all right.
a cross. Done.
It's a cross. So that was a super cross. So this is Ryu in action. I finally get my tools that allow me to create distance and counter fight. Oh my gosh. So I would go first. I deal 2 damage to you since you get +1 armor because of your EX. And then I get to retreat 3. This gets added to my gauge.
And that unfortunately puts you out of range.
Of the 2 to 3 on Spike, because I'm at range 5 right now. It's I don't get to draw because Metsu caused me to strike. It's your turn now.
Okay.
Where are my ranged options, everyone? We haven't even played a single Hadoken. That's like so weird.
So I'm thinking you might have one in your hand.
Oh, a Hadoken?
Yes.
I'm totally bluffing when I say I don't have an Hadoken in my hand. Do you believe me, Alice?
I don't believe you.
Why not? I'm telling the truth. I would never lie.
I'm going to prepare for 2 cards.
Alright, it's my turn. I'm gonna prepare 2 cards as well.
Okay. I am
Your turn.
going to boost with light to get +2 speed on my next attack. Draw.
Uh-huh. So I'm gonna play Swift as a continuous boost, which gives me +1 power and +1 speed. And then I'll draw 1 card.
Okay.
It is verily your turn.
I'm going to initiate a strike with this, I think.
Okay. That's not an EX, right? Because if it's an EX, you have to tell me.
No, it's
If you're
not.
a cop, you have to tell me.
It's not an EX.
Okay, I will set down this attack.
Okay, I am going to crit mine.
Oh my gosh. Does mine have any crit triggers? Nope. Alright, let us reveal.
Oh god, that's...
I do. Metsu Hadouken! So I have to spend the 3 gauge in order to do my Metsu.
Okay, that's
you
not
go.
that's not a regular Hadouken I was expecting.
Yes, it's a Metsu Hadouken. So my Metsu Hadouken has 6 speed. How much speed do you have?
Less. 4 speed.
Unfortunately, very much less. So Ryu can now hit you for... So are you in range?
7
1, 2,
damage.
3, 4, 5. For 7 damage. Oh. Does that stun you? Oh, it does.
Yes, it does.
Sweetness. So, and afterwards I get to move too. I get to put the gauge in my... I get to put the Ultra in my gauge. And I can now move up to 2. I'm not moving. I don't want to mess with Ken. You initiated that strike, right?
Yep, that's my strike.
So it is now my turn. I am a coward, so I will draw 2 cards.
I'm going to strike.
Unfortunate for me. I will also strike. Before, are you going to critical yours?
Nope, because I don't have gauge.
Oh, right, you don't have gauge. I forgot. I will critical mine. Oh, wait, we get to choose which cards we critical, right? I'm not going to critical my Ultra. So, there you go. Reveal.
And yeah, there's your Hadouken. That's what I was
So,
scared
this
of.
is cool, right? We both have Hadoukens. And they're both similarly statted. Yeah, but the difference is that Ken's Hadouken is stronger if you crit it, and my Hadouken is faster if you crit it. So let's resolve this. I go faster, and then I hit you for 4 damage.
Which kills me exactly.
Oh my gosh. Oh, Alice, that was such a good game. Thank you so much for the game.
Close.
Oh my god. Oh, it was so close. When you hit me with the... Oh my gosh, what's the name of that super? Shin Ryuken? Oh, when you hit me with the EX Shin Ryuken, I was like, what is this? Oh my gosh. I'm really glad with that Metsu Hadouken play that I did.
Yeah, that's I know. Here's your Metsu Hadouken.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that Metsu Hadouken, man.
Yeah, it was your regular Hadouken that I was trying to counter. Completely didn't think about you having your Metsu Hadouken. That's
why you played the sweep with the knee bash, because
Well,
that gave you 4 speed.
I played sweep because I wanted to do my Hadouken without being outsped by your critted Hadouken.
Mm-hmm.
But then with your +1 speed, if you'd critted, you still would have been faster on the defense than my offensive Hadouken. I didn't want to continue trying to add more speed stuff to it, and I was just like, fine, I'll just go with something that trades versus Hadouken. But then it was Metsu Hadouken, which crushed it.
Oh my gosh, that was the counterplays. You can see the counterplays in this game. And what's really interesting that we didn't get to show, because Ken was in my face the entire time and I couldn't really do it, is that Hadoukens are spammable in typical Street Fighter fashion. So if you hit with a Hadouken, you may return it to the top of your deck. So the cool thing is, if Ken had not died here, I could have put this on top of my deck, and now I could wild swing with this Hadouken repeatedly, right? And so long as you were at this range, I could just keep spamming Hadoukens until you find a way to beat it. And that's so cool, in my opinion.
Yeah,
oh gosh.
They did a really good job of capturing so many of the aspects of Street Fighter in this season. Some of my favourite aspects that got captured are... let me just make sure. So Dan, I really like how they've put Dan into the Street Fighter Exceed, because as he should be, he is a walking meme, and it's just super silly. Like, he is the only character in the entire game who has 3 different ultras. Normally, people only have 2 different ultras and 5 different specials. Whereas good old Dan has his legendary taunt as his 3rd ultra, which just lets him go. Before
Can you pull out that card? Can you just like pull out the legendary taunt right now?
that'd require reloading stuff back in to bring the...
No, so let's not. So I'll just put a graphic over here. The legendary taunt is a card in this game. It is beautiful. It is a thing of art, Alice.
Yep,
It's
no range.
And the thing about it, it's not even a meme card, right? It's actually a good ultra.
Oh yeah. And then secret technique, the boost on it's pretty good. Search your deck for any card, add it to your hand, and then discard till you only have one card. So just go, this is my only card!
Yeah, so that's what's really cool about it, is that we've been able to adapt these characters in that way, right? Like the experience of playing Dan is that you're a character who has bad attacks, right? Because your attacks are just statistically weaker than everyone else's. Much like in the actual Street Fighter games, right? Dan's Hadokens have only 1 to 2 range, or like they're melee Hadokens at that point, or like his attacks are slower, deal less damage, and all that stuff. And the way we've implemented that is that Dan has weak attacks, except when he wild swings. When Dan wild swings, his wild swings suddenly get super buffed. So that kind of translates the entire like unpredictable nature of fighting Dan. It's like he has so many bad attacks, but if you get caught with one of them, you feel really bad. So wild swinging is like our version of button mashing, right? And basically Dan is a button mash character, and it's so fun. In general, the adaptation of the Street Fighter characters is very, very much like what you would expect them to play as. You know, Cammy does a lot of switch side stuff. Ken is aggressive, Ryu is defensive. You have Zangief literally being a lumbering monster, but if he gets into range 1, you're screwed.
Oh yeah.
This is a game made by people who have played Street Fighter and love Street Fighter.
Oh yeah, the passion is very obvious.
The passion is very obvious. The amount of care that goes into creating these cards is very obvious. And you know what? If you like what you've seen here today, please tell us in the comment section down below. Or just pre-order the game right now. Alice, where can people pre-order this game?
At www.level99games.com, and you can find the blogs that show, which are giving off the previews of all different characters, giving you an idea of what they're like, as well as the pre-order bundle, which has the 3 Street Fighter boxes, each containing 4 complete character decks, as well as a playmat bundled in, the playmat we have been using in the middle here of Ryu vs Chun-Li. Alright, so there's box 1, which contains Sagat, Ryu, Akuma, and Zangief. Box 2, consisting of Vega, my personal favourite, Sea Viper, Chun-Li, and Dan the Meme Man. And box 3, containing Cammy, M. Bison, Ken, and Guile.
So again, this has been a very special showcase of Street Fighter Exceed Ryu versus Ken. We have a lot more other characters to showcase. If that's useful to you and if you want to learn more about this game, we highly recommend you check the description of this video so that you can see the links going to the Exceed page and pre-order the game yourself, or at least just watch a few more videos and read a few more blogs about the characters that we have previewed already. So as much as I would like to keep talking about Street Fighter Exceed because I love it so much, this video has to end sometime, and Alice, the time is now. So as usual, it has been me, your host, Marco DeSantos, also known as Mechanic Critic. Don't you mean yes? Yes! Yes!
I really hope that's a boost for M. Bison. Just yes!
If that isn't a boost, by like knowing us and knowing the kind of things that we put as references into these games, I wouldn't be surprised if one of his boosts was just yes, right? It would definitely be a thing. So it has been me, your host, Marco DeSantos, also known as Mechanic Critic, and with me has been my awesome moderating, tabletop simming master co-host,
Alice.
And we thank you so much for watching this video. Again, we hope you liked everything you saw, and we would like to thank you so much for watching, and good night, and happy gaming.